Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 and AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on the Morning Majority. Brian Wilson and Mary Catherine Ham here. Brian Neiman still off on vacation, getting a tan. He'll come back and flaunt it.
He's off, but he's always just a little off.
Right.
Anyway. No.
Well, we had a very sad day yesterday, finding out just after we got off the air that our friend of the show, friend of freedom, friend of conservatives, Andrew Breitbart, passed away yesterday, untimely, at the age of 43, leaving behind 4 kids and a wife. And now we get to talk to Adam Baldwin. He's an actor. You may know him from his work in Full Metal Jacket or My Bodyguard or the Joss Whedon series Serenity, or Firefly, one of my favorites, and Chuck. He's one of those rare creatures, a conservative in Hollywood, and he actually talks about it. Good morning, Adam Baldwin.
Good morning, guys. I'm not as rare as you might think out here. That was one of Andrew's passions, was meeting and having good times with the pretty large conservative community out here that may be under the cloak of darkness, but it's rearing its ugly head more and more these days.
Well, and tell me about the impact he had on that. I know he tried to bring folks who work in the movie industry together, who were conservatives, because a lot of times they feel like they're on their own and they might not be as alone as they think. Tell me about how that sort of helped your community and what it did for Hollywood.
Well, he was a conduit, and he allowed for a platform that created content that people could read and nod their heads and say, yeah, I agree with that. Hey, I agree. I know that guy. He's in the business, and he agrees with me. And there are people who care very much about America and where America's heading. And Andrew was a huge part of our community out here. And man, he's just sorely missed.
Would you count him as one of your good friends there?
One of my closest friends. Yeah, he's a guy that you could always pick up the phone and he'd be rambling on about something that, again, was going to try to save the world.
Tell me about the kind of person that he was. I mean, we hear the stories that he was a very devoted father and family man, but we also we got to witness it from time to time as sort of this force of nature who would just go out there and just, be the happy warrior for the conservative causes he believed in.
He always was. He believed in being a happy warrior. He thought that a joke could take you very far. And there was a character that he played when he was confronting some of the more negative left that he felt it was very important to engage. And I think that people took that character to be who he really is, and that's not. He was a merry prankster, and he loved the reaction. He loved to get the reaction of people and draw out their anger through what Limbaugh calls illustrating absurdity by being absurd. He did that very well. He was a huge fan of Rush Limbaugh's, and he took that to heart, and he played in that realm as hard and fast as he could.
How did you come to meet him the first time?
First time I met him was at. Gosh, it was a gathering of folks out here that like-minded, they like to call them. I'm not real comfortable with the word like-minded, but they're a collection of individual conservatives in Hollywood, and he was there, and we just sort of struck up a conversation, and he was getting ready to launch Big Hollywood, and we just hit it off. We started talking about Thomas Sowell and other great authors in the conservative plank, and we just hit it off. He got it. He got what that whole cultural Marxist thing was and is.
Well, and tell me a little bit. You've written for Big Hollywood. Tell me about sort of what you think that site and the bevy of sites that he created. He's quite an entrepreneurial guy. What those did for new media. I mean, he really had an impact.
Yeah, his legacy. Well, part of his legacy will be that he helped create that platform for conservatives to put their thoughts down and to break stories that otherwise wouldn't be seen in the mainstream media. He was an active seeker of breaking news, and he broke some huge stories, which angered a lot of people.
Right.
he always was challenging people to say, hey, point out the lie, point out the lie. And to this day, people can say that he may have made reporting mistakes as anybody in anybody in the journalism business, as you guys know, are going to get facts as they stream in, and if you correct them in a timely manner, that's honest journalism, and that's what he did. He's been vilified by people, obviously, but he also was very. He believed in if you're over the target, you're taking flack, and he took a lot of flack. But I think he also encouraged young journalists like James O'Keefe and others to come out of the woodwork and use their cameras, use their flip cams and cell phone cams now to break stories that.
Right. Yeah, that was one thing that was striking to me about him. You would always see him doing tiny training sessions all over the nation. He would drop in and advise anyone who would have him. He was very generous with his time in that way, even though everyone knew who he was. We're talking to Adam Baldwin, actor and a friend of Andrew Breitbart, about the passing of our friend Andrew Breitbart. It seemed to me fitting that it seems the last story that comes out about Andrew's last night is that he was out having a glass of wine and having a nice conversation and debate with a guy who disagreed with him.
Around the corner pub.
Right, at the corner pub.
Well, I had experienced that a couple of times. I have some friends who are on the left in Hollywood, as you will, and I wanted them to be very smart people, and one of them even professor from UCLA, and he wrote a blog afterwards. We had dinner, and he was all prepared to go into the fireworks and all that, but he came out really loving Andrew because he was just so fun about the whole thing. And Andrew had that ability to reach convivial disagreements with people on the left, but he would do it in such a way that people would love him and want to have dinner with him again. And I think, that's one of the biggest challenges of conservatism, is it takes time
it really does.
to understand the concepts because they're not taught in public school, for one. And so he was there to help do that and get people to like him personally. He loved music, he loved food, he loved people. He loved people.
Yeah.
And even people on the left who spent time with him loved him.
All right. Well, Adam Baldwin, thank you very much for getting up super early to hang out with us this morning and to honor our friend Andrew.
It's 4:30 there? 4:30 in the morning.
That's okay. Just say a prayer for his family.
We will, for sure. Thank you very much.
Just on a side note, I very much admire your acting. I love that character you play on Chuck, that John Casey. I think we have a sense that maybe there's a little bit of you in John Casey. All right.
Hey, I don't write this stuff. I just play it.
All right, man.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks a lot.